Hey everyone, today we're going to dive into one of humanity's oldest and honestly most powerful inventions, the solid propellant rocket. On the surface, it seems almost ridiculously simple, but its story and its impact, anything but. All right, let's get into it.
Just take a look at this incredible shot, the space shuttle, an absolute icon of exploration, just clawing its way into the sky. So what's giving it that unbelievable initial kick? Well, the answer is right there in those two giant white pillars strapped to its side. Those are the solid rocket boosters, the SRBs, and they are, without a doubt, some of the most powerful engines we have ever built.
So how does this simple powerhouse even work? What's the secret? Well, it all comes down to some really clever prepackaged chemistry.
At the very heart of it all is the solid propellant. The best way to think about it is like a solid block of pure chemical energy. You know your car's engine has to constantly mix fuel with air from the outside? A solid rocket doesn't need that. It has everything it needs, both the fuel and the oxidizer, already mixed together in one solid piece, which we call the grain.
And this diagram just perfectly illustrates how simple the motor really is. You've got the propellant grain, that's number one. Up top, there's an igniter, number two. That's just to get the party started. The hollow core in the middle, that becomes the combustion chamber, number three. And then at the back, you have the nozzle, number four, which funnels all that hot exhaust gas, number five, out the back. And that creates thrust. That's the whole thing. It's beautifully simple.
And the sequence of events is just as simple. The igniter fires, which lights the surface of that propellant. As it burns, it unleashes a huge amount of super hot gas, building up insane pressure inside the rocket's casing. That high-pressure gas has only one way to go, out the back through the nozzle. And that violent expulsion of gas is what gives you all that incredible thrust.
But here's the catch, and trust me, it's a big one. Once you light that fuse, you can't turn it off. There's no throttle, no off switch. It has all the ingredients it needs, and it will burn until every last gram of propellant is gone. This incredible reliability is its greatest strength, and, as you can imagine, its greatest challenge.
Now this simple, unstoppable design, it's not some newfangled idea, not even close. In fact, it's got a history that stretches back almost 1,000 years, shaping everything from warfare to space exploration along the way.
It's a wild ride. It all kicked off way back in 1232 when Chinese forces were using these gunpowder-filled fire arrows against Mongol invaders. Fast forward a few centuries, and you've got iron-cased rockets in India that were so effective they actually inspired the British to develop their own. That eventually led to things like the terrifying Soviet Katyusha launchers in World War II, and finally to the invention of modern, stable propellants right here in the US, which really paved the way for the space age.
And just look at this contrast. It's absolutely incredible. On the left, you've got a volley of Katyusha rockets from 1942. On the right, the space shuttle. The evolution in power and scale is just staggering. But get this, the fundamental principle, a solid block of chemicals burning inside a tube, is exactly the same.
Okay, so if you can't turn it off or throttle it down, how do you get any control at all? This is where the real genius of solid rocket design comes into play. There's a secret to taming this beast.
That's this central engineering problem, isn't it? You've got this unstoppable burn, so how do you make it do what you need it to do? How do you control how much thrust you get and when you get it?
Well, the answer is so elegant, it's almost unbelievable. It's not about adding complicated valves or pumps. It's all about the geometry of the propellant grain before you even light it.
For example, let's say you just drill a simple round hole right down the middle. When it ignites, it burns from the inside out. The surface area starts kind of small, but then it grows as the hole gets wider, and finally it shrinks as the flame reaches the outer casing. This gives you a thrust that kind of ramps up and then fades back down.
But what if you need a nice, steady, constant push for your whole flight? Well, you get creative. You use a more complex shape, like this star. It looks complicated, but as the points of the star burn away, the total surface area stays almost perfectly constant for most of the burn, and that gives you an incredibly level and predictable amount of thrust. This is how engineers literally program the rocket's performance.
Of course, just because it's simple doesn't mean it's foolproof. Things can still go wrong. If that solid propellant grain cracks or has air pockets inside, the burning surface area can suddenly and dramatically increase, which can cause the whole thing to rupture from too much pressure. And most tragically, a failure of the seals between the different segments of the rocket casing can allow that searing hot gas to escape. And as we know, this was the cause of the Space Shuttle Challenger disaster in 1986. It's just a heartbreaking reminder of the immense energies we're dealing with and why every single component is absolutely critical.
Now, despite those challenges, the solid rocket is still a cornerstone of both military and space technology. So let's take a look at why this ancient engine is still so incredibly relevant today. It really boils down to a huge trade-off. On one side, you have solid rockets. They're simple, they're super reliable, and you can store them for decades, ready to go at a moment's notice. On the other side, you have liquid rockets. They're way more fuel efficient, and you can throttle them, shut them down, and even restart them. But wow, are they complicated. It's always about picking the right tool for the job.
For the military, that storable and ready feature is everything. It's non-negotiable. That's why you find solid propellants in everything from ICBMs like the Minuteman, which have to be ready to launch after sitting in a silo for decades, all the way to tactical missiles that just need to work first time, every time.
And in space exploration, they're the ultimate workhorses. They provide that extra muscle, that critical raw thrust, as strap-on boosters for massive rockets. And because they're so reliable, they're perfect for that final kick stage, the one that sends probes like Voyager and New Horizons on their precise paths to the outer solar system and even beyond.
So in the end, it all comes back to this, a testament to controlled, violent power. For nearly 1,000 years, we have been perfecting this one basic idea. Pack a bunch of chemicals into a tube, light one end, and watch it go. It's really an enduring symbol of our drive to go faster, higher, and farther.
Which really leaves us with a fascinating question, doesn't it? This is a technology with its roots in medieval battlefields, yet it's taken us to the moon and sent our messengers into interstellar space. The real question is, where will this ancient, unstoppable engine take us next?